Welcome to Between the Scene podcast. My name is Peter, and I am joined by my buddy Luke.
Hi guys.
And today we will be discussing Spider-Man: No Way Home. Before
Mhm.
we get started, if you haven't already, subscribe to us and hit that notification bell so that way you are notified whenever we upload. And then leave us a like and a comment of what you want to see next. Also, before we get started, I want to note that I have not seen any of the new Spider-Mans except for Spider-Man No Way Home. I've seen Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 and No Way Home, as Luke has seen the majority
Mhm.
of them.
Yes.
I also want to note that we have conflicting points.
Mhm.
I did not enjoy the movie as much as Luke here did, and we
Mhm.
have our reasons why. So, without further ado, let's
Mhm.
get into it.
All right.
So yeah, as we get started, I just want to hear what did you like about it?
So, the best things I can say for it are definitely the way they were able to incorporate all the old cast members from the previous Spider-Man franchises.
Uh-huh.
Um, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, especially. I thought the chemistry between all three of them, the two of them, and Tom Holland was pitch perfect. Um, all the returning villain cast members, I thought they all did a fantastic job. I would say again, including Doctor Strange into the story to make it possible. That was definitely a smart move. And if you're a fan of Into the Spider Verse, I would say this is definitely the closest that we will ever get to a live action version of that. And I know that movie is so widely beloved all across the board that that's definitely one of the best things I can say about this one for sure is that they did such a great job incorporating all these different characters into one story that
Yep.
I think, and that and just all the sheer fan service I think is what worked best in the movie's benefits. So yeah,
Sure.
just
Sure.
so many good things about this one. But yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Um
I know you have a lot to say, so
yeah, so
go
when
right
we were
ahead.
discussing when to do the podcast, I had to let Luke know I did not like this movie as much as he did. Um I want to start out with stuff I did like.
Okay.
I liked the cinematography, the choreography in the fight scenes, and the cinematography lined up really well. I thought they did a really good job of showing off the space and showing off, or like showing off the space while maintaining the tightness of showing the action. Uh, in another sense, they had a full frame. Um,
Hmm.
they they definitely used every bit of the screen to tell the story. Um,
Hmm.
I also liked the effects. Who
Hmm.
doesn't like the effects? Those were really cool effects, especially the Doctor Strange scene,
Oh yeah.
where him and Spider-Man are going at it. That was
Oh yeah.
that was trippy. That was
The
so
one-on-one
cool.
between them. Yep.
Yeah, that was so cool. And like you said, I also liked how they brought back all the actors from the older movies and the villains.
Hmm.
Um, I thought that was pretty cool and well done. On certain points. Going on to the stuff I did not like. Um, I didn't like how they made almost every character in this movie look and sound less dignified in a sense. I feel like they
Hmm.
took away some of their IQ points.
Yeah.
Like they just made them look silly in a sense.
Hmm.
Um, and I get it. It is a film that really resonates with the younger generation, as well as it resonates with some of the older generations where they have seen the original Amazing Spider-Man and all of that, and watched the or read the comic books and all that.
Yep.
Um, So what I'm getting at is I feel like they could have done better in the screenwriting. The screenwriting to me as a filmmaker myself, and I'm not saying that to be like, oh, I'm so good at making films, which I'm not making $200 million movies, but but I did go to for a backstory. I did go to film school to study cinematography, and I uh won numerous awards for it, but I um I still am a learning cinematographer, learning filmmaker, but I feel like I do have kind of a sense to say that the screenwriting was pretty atrocious in this movie. Um um Mainly in the comedic humor lines. There was a lot of there was a lot of just there was a lot of writing just to fill in quiet space in a sense. Like um for example, um when Doctor Strange is walking up the staircase and MJ is talking about let's go um forget that one. Going to the towards the end where um Toby Maguire and Andrew Garfield are standing together and
Oh yeah.
they're they're just talking or they're waving goodbye to um Tom Holland
Yep.
and uh Andrew Garfield is he's or no, Toby Maguire is saying something and then Andrew Garfield's like, you're in a lot of pain, aren't you?
Yep.
I feel like
Yep.
it took away from the scene. Um and that same concept goes throughout the film. There's a lot of dialogue where they're trying to be funny and then it just takes away from the importance of the scene.
hmm
Um I'm just curious, how did you feel about the dialogue?
So yeah, for a lot of it, for me personally, I, I don't know if I noticed it in this one as much, but throughout these newer movies with Tom Holland, I think especially with Zendaya's character, yeah, Michelle MJ,
Mm,
um, she's like nothing against her as an actress necessarily, but just the way her character's written as that, how do I want to say it, like that really quiet loner who, yeah, really sarcastic or kind of standoffish and what I forget exactly how I would describe her, but yeah, just that kind of character who, yeah, tries to be like cool and away from everybody else while still, yeah, being who she is. I think that was she was probably like the way her character was written was probably one of the weakest things about all of
yeah,
these movies for me. So her and then um yeah, I think like I was telling you over Messenger, I think my biggest issue with these movies is again not Tom Holland himself, but the way just how they made him such an idiot in these
yes.
movies. They make him like exceedingly stupid. Especially in the second one, the one before this. I know you said you haven't seen it, but if you do ever end up watching it, he is really, really dumb in that one.
Yep.
I would say, yeah, they made him dumber than he ever should have been in that movie. Um, let's see, Far From Home, just in case anybody doesn't know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in this one, No Way Home, I would say, yeah, again, he just makes so many like just absent-minded decisions. Him and Doctor Strange, especially. You know what I
Yep.
mean? I think the fact that they didn't sit down and really talk out what their plan was to go through with casting the spell that he uses and knowing exactly what Peter wanted to do with it, that was definitely my biggest issue with the way everything played out. But I mean, I do take into consideration that Peter Parker is supposed to be a young kid who makes mistakes, learns from them, and he grows. That's so key to his character.
Yep.
But at the same time, I feel like that's one of the stronger things about the other movies is that with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they I don't know they were just so much more intelligent. Like they
Yeah.
made mistakes, but they still
Uh-huh.
learned from them, and they weren't like they weren't so goofy to the point to where they were just like I could still take them seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely understand what you mean by the dialogue and just how silly some of the characters were. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. Um like in a way, if I were Stan Lee, I'd be kind of
Hmm.
really upset, how they were portrayed, you know. um rest in peace Stan Lee.
Yes,
But
yes, yes.
like if you were to take Peter and MJ from the Amazing Spider-Man to Peter and MJ in this one, the the character development is so much better in the Amazing Spider-Man. Um
Okay,
uh there's so much more to relate to with for me at least. I feel like I relate more to Peter Parker as Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker. Um
okay.
I I feel like his character um well actually for this I would say that I feel like um no, I take that back. I take that back. Or Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man had a lot more difficulties than Tom Holland's. Tom Holland
Okay.
had what, like multiple suits to rely on.
Yeah,
He had
I mean Tony Stark is like the kind of the Uncle Ben of this storyline. Yeah,
yeah,
he was the guy
yeah,
who was like, yeah, he constantly had him as a father figure who was able to back him up or um, kind of fund him in a
uh,
sense. So yeah, like I totally get that too. Whereas yeah, like Tobey Maguire, yeah, he was really going through a lot.
yeah,
He was yeah, they showed you him like out on his own after he moved out of his aunt and uncle's place, going to college, doing all of that other stuff, and trying to maintain a relationship. All the trouble that he went through. Um, yeah, like you really saw a lot of growth with him. I think.
yeah, yeah. Um, did you also get like a weird feeling with Toby's character in this one, where he kind of felt like the weird uncle almost, like
I
his
kind of go ahead and finish. Sorry.
I like especially the scene where they're trying to make all of the elixirs and all the stuff to uh normalize the villains in that
Oh yeah.
little laboratory.
Yep.
He just seems like the creepy the creepy uncle or something. Something about him just like the way he was talking, the dialogue, like between him and Andrew, he's like, "You got a girl?" And Andrew's like, no. And then they kind of just like, I don't know how to describe it, but um I'll definitely put like video clips up and give
You have
examples of
some?
what I'm talking about. But the dialogue between them is
I got no time.
it's like uncomfortable for me. Like
Okay.
um I just feel like his character was like he wasn't Toby Maguire in that movie. I felt
Yeah.
like um I personally felt like he only took that role just to cash in a check. I feel like he wasn't as into the film as Andrew Garfield was and Tom Holland. Tom Holland
Hmm.
is, and honestly, I think he has a lot of potential. I think Tom
Hmm.
Holland has a lot of potential. He's young, he's good
Hmm.
looking, and his acting is actually pretty good for
It
the
is.
most part. For the most
Oh
part,
yeah.
when he doesn't have really bad screenwriters writing his lines. um, but I feel like Tobey Maguire was not really into this film as much as the other actors.
Yeah.
Um, I uh I want to go into uh more of the character development. Um, I felt like I felt like the only part that really stuck out to me where Tom Holland was developing as a character was when his Aunt May died. That's his aunt,
Okay.
right? Aunt May.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
That's right.
When she died, and I like the correlation between her death and Uncle Ben, his death. Like,
Hmm.
there's uh there's a lot of character development in that in that crisis.
Yeah.
What am I trying to say? In that, like, losing a family member.
Right.
Um, I felt like I felt like I personally feel like that scene should have happened a lot earlier in the movie.
Really.
Yeah, because to me, besides all the plot holes and stuff going on, I felt like the movie was missing something. It was
Yeah.
missing. It was missing like the whole movie. The whole movie's purpose was, if you haven't seen it, spoiler alerts. Um, Pretty much Tom Holland's Peter Parker gets unmasked in a way. His identity is revealed to everyone,
Hmm.
and from what I'm getting is that he killed Mysterio. Killed Mysterio. Um,
He was
you
framed
can
for it.
you
Yeah.
can you,
Mhm.
yeah, he was framed for it.
Right.
Uh, if I'm saying anything wrong, because I have not seen the other ones,
Yeah.
please let me know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Absolutely.
so he's getting framed for Mysterio's death, and everyone hates him. So he goes to Doctor Strange and wants to fix everything. The problem with that, and the problem I have with Doctor Strange, is that he can do absolutely anything. Like,
Hmm.
I don't see any weaknesses for Doctor Strange. I don't see any difficulties for him. And you can definitely, I didn't see any of the Doctor Strange movies either.
Okay.
You can definitely correct me if I'm wrong.
For
Um
sure.
but to me, he goes to Doctor Strange, which is to me a fix it all button.
Hmm.
Um and then uh they cast a spell to, or they use magic to make everyone forget who he is, and then in doing so, um, they mess it up because of Tom Holland's Peter Parker, his selfishness and stuff going into it, and then all of the villains and the Spider-Man from previous movies come into that universe.
Hmm.
And their whole issue, the whole problem that they're trying to solve is getting everyone back to their homes, back to their universes. What didn't fit for me and what made the movie feel empty was the lack of character development from the beginning to the point where Aunt May dies. There's not
Okay.
really much character development. Sure, they got
Hmm.
some issues, like they're trying to get into school, they're trying to, trying to figure out all that and trying to, like, um repair their social life and,
Yep.
their identity. But for a superhero movie, there's not much there's not much that Peter Parker is really really going through, in a sense, like, as a superhero. I mean,
Yeah.
um I I I just feel like if they put May's death towards the beginning, that would allow him to have a full character structure, like arc, like
Okay.
character arc, and he would
Yeah.
actually be able to build as a character. Um
Right.
because I see him building as a character after his aunt dies. He has a
Yeah.
weakness. He starts out really weak. He's crying on a rooftop, and then he goes to anger, vengeance, and then he kind of, with the help of the other Peter Parkers, he gets to um, mellow out in a sense, and then
Yep.
at the end he goes back to rage. And um, what would have made the movie feel full and whole is if he had that rage, or the weakness and despair and rage throughout the movie, and then he grows into the forgiving and merciful kind of character that
Yep.
he ended up being.
Right.
Um, because I feel like that whole character arc was rushed in a sense. Do
Hmm.
you kind of agree with that at all? And it's okay if you don't. I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
wondering.
Um, Um, so I think I can definitely understand why you feel it would have been more impactful and a better character arc for him if if May had been killed off earlier on because I think that would have probably given him a better reason to I want to say like I think if they had written it in such a way where her death would have been the direct result of his carelessness and like I said, his absent-mindedness in his decision to have Doctor Strange use his magic for to help him
Yeah,
out. If that had been a little more immediate, I could definitely see why that would have given him a better character arc in this one.
yeah,
'Cause I think because for the most part, since you haven't seen the other two, his his story, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, throughout these movies, like ever since his introduction, he's almost been entirely like the tone of his movies has been almost entirely a comedic adventure story.
uh-huh,
Whereas with this one, yeah, he really does go through a real tragedy, not just once, but losing his aunt, and then at the very end having to say goodbye to everyone, and knowing that they won't remember him.
yeah.
So I think one of my favorite YouTube movie critics, Jeremy Johns. I don't know if you know if you've heard of him or if I mentioned him in the last episode, but I think he made a really good point, which I think a lot of other people have come to their own conclusion on as well. I think these three movies have all made up one long origin story that really serve his character in such a way where moving forward, I think that will serve him best because if you remember the very end of it, he's now out on his own. He has his own homemade suit, and nobody knows who he is. Not even like who he is as
Yeah,
Peter.
yeah.
Like they know who Spider-Man is still apparently, but yeah, I think this has been these all three of these movies altogether have been like one extended origin story for him, and I think that's going to work in his benefit moving forward. But um, I can't
That
remember
I
if there
mean,
was any.
that's a very good point.
You think so?
Yeah, if they continue making Spider-Man movies, which I know they will, they make so
Hmm.
much money off these movies.
Yeah.
Um, that is a really good point that these three movies will create the sh- the the weaknesses of his Spider-Man.
Yep.
They'll give him a reason to be who he is. Like they'll give him a reason to continue to be Spider-Man and
Yep.
to fight off crime and to continue slinging webs. Like
Hmm.
he will definitely definitely have a lot more character arc onward. I
Hmm.
would hope so. Um, because of this movie's troubles and you know the downfalls and all that.
Yep.
Um,
Hmm.
I definitely do agree with that point. But yeah, I mean, something about this movie, man, it just didn't
Hmm.
fit right with me.
Okay.
Um, like, let me spit you a number.
Okay.
200 million dollars.
Uh
What do you expect from a movie with a budget of
huh.
$200 million?
I mean, this one definitely delivered for me. I think
You think so? Okay.
in a lot of ways, yeah, definitely. Between just the production values overall, um, I would say, yeah, the visual effects they were able to pull off, the wardrobe, the costuming, those are obviously some of the biggest things that you want to focus
Uh,
on, especially for a superhero movie. Um, I think, uh, I mean, I could go on about. I mean, there were a couple of things where I thought they could have been done a little bit better. One thing I had pointed out to me that I didn't even consider when I first watched the movie. I
uh-huh.
don't know if you really paid close attention to it or not, but the lizard, the digital effects for the way he was designed in this one.
Yeah.
I know you haven't seen the ones with Andrew Garfield, but the way he was designed in the first movie um, for him, yeah, it's if you look at them like side by side, they're noticeably different. And
Okay.
the one in Andrew Garfield's movie is easily more well done, whereas with this one, it looks like the CGI is just so cheap looking. It's
Oh,
almost it's
really?
really, yeah. If you look at it again, you'll have to do that.
Okay. I was thinking it would be the other way around, that this one would have been
Oh,
better.
you
But
would think so, right?
yeah,
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 that's what I would think. But yeah, I had that pointed out to me recently, and I completely see what they were saying when
yeah.
they said when they mentioned it.
I do hear a lot that people like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man the most
I've
because
heard
he
that a lot
actually
too, actually.
portrays how Spider-Man would function. Like, um,
Right.
that's what I heard. I can't give any examples, so I need to see those movies to actually be
Yeah.
able to speak on them. But from what I hear, people like his Spider-Man the best because they actually think that he portrays Spider-Man the best.
I think a lot of people liked his Spider-Man himself the most, whereas a lot of people liked Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker better. I think
Okay.
that's what I
Yeah.
think that's what the majority of people have said. Um, the first one with Andrew, it is on Netflix right now. I don't know if you have an account
Okay.
right now, but
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
it is on there. So yeah,
How many Spider-Man movies did Andrew Garfield do?
just the two.
It was two.
Just
Okay.
the first one and then the second one in 2014.
Okay. When did the
Hmm.
first one come out?
That was in 2012.
Man, I feel old.
No, but it's been 10 years since then.
I remember
It's
when
weird,
2000.
isn't it?
I remember everyone was worried about the world ending in
Yep,
2012, and
yep,
now, now the world's just weird.
yep.
Um. Well, what do you think? What do you think they could have done better with a roughly $200 million budget? What do you think they
I,
could have done better?
I would say, I don't know. I think, like I said, I think my biggest issue with it was just how just absent-minded Peter was. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's directly related to the budget necessarily, but I just wish they could have made it. I just wish they had made it so to where he finally, uh, like, he realized, like, I wish they had written it in such a way to where he should have realized what his mistakes have led him to, and
Yeah.
tried to do something different. Like I realized that they wanted to get, I realized the kind of movie that they were going for, and that they had to do it in such a way to where everything could actually happen the way they intended. But
Yeah.
I guess I really can't say for sure just because I really don't know that much about film production myself.
Sure.
Like just from a financial standpoint. Um,
Mhm.
I was curious like what you would say they could have done better just so I could get a little bit more
Yeah,
insight
no,
on it.
definitely. Like you said, how they portrayed him as like kind of stupid. Um,
Yep.
the screenwriting, like instead of putting so much money towards the effects, and I get, um, my buddy Aaron and I actually did an episode of why we think superhero movies are starting to fall off. Um,
Yeah.
um, we talked about the lack of character development and the lack of good screenwriting.
Hmm.
Um, to me, to me, bad screenwriting can ruin a movie just
Yep.
as much as bad dialogue can ruin video.
Oh yeah.
Um, or bad audio can ruin video. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So besides the screenwriting, I feel like what they could have done better. No, that's that's pretty much it. Just the
Hmm.
screenwriting, really. That was it. Honestly, was a really fun movie to watch. It
Yeah.
had a lot of cool characters, a lot of the old characters. It had a lot of good choreography. The cinematography was really cool, really awesome,
Hmm.
fun to watch. Um, the audio design pretty good. Um, I really the the only thing I really have wrong with it is the dialogue and the screenwriting. Like,
Yeah.
it was so weak in a sense that it just took me out of every scene.
Hmm.
Like, when I'm trying to think of a really good example of where it took me out. Oh, like I was saying at the end when Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are standing and they're saying their goodbyes to
Oh
Tom
yeah,
Holland,
yeah,
and he's like, "You're in a lot of pain, aren't you?" Like, it was kind of funny and it made me laugh, but
yeah.
it took me out of the scene. Like, that was a very important part of the movie where he had to say goodbye to his new friends. He had to say goodbye to everyone,
Yeah.
and then they put that comedic humor in it, and it took me away from the scene.
Does it just feel kind of like cheap and kind of
Yeah,
like it's been done
yeah,
before? Like I know I've seen movies where characters have done things like that, where it's like that like quietly pointing out the obvious and just kind of going along with it, like those
yeah,
kind of jokes. Yeah,
yeah.
I definitely understand that.
Or oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say like I was trying to think of if there were any scenes that really like got a good laugh out of me. I actually have only still seen it just the one time in its entirety, and that was
Oh,
back
okay.
when it first came out in theaters. But um, trying to remember. Uh, let's see. Yeah, there's just yeah. I think just the overall comedic tone in these movies. It just like I get who they're aiming for, probably like
Yeah,
younger kids or like young teenagers or maybe yes, kids in high school, which yeah,
yeah.
I'm not that far off from, neither of us are, but I still think I don't know that my sense of humor has evolved over like quite
Sure.
a bit. I think, yeah, over not a very long amount of time. Like I've learned to appreciate a lot of other types of humor and the kind of jokes that other writers have been able to pull off. So with these guys, I get what they were aiming for. I just yeah, I know that not a lot of it was in my taste. So I definitely
Yeah.
understand why you took issue with it.
Yeah. 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 Uh. Do you know any fun facts about this movie or?
I really should, honestly. Oh, you know what? Okay, so if this counts as one,
Oh.
um, so I don't know if you watched any of the Daredevil TV series back when it was still airing, but okay, so or when it was still being released. So I think I heard something about how the actor who plays him, Matt Murdock, yeah, Charlie Cox,
Uh.
he, I guess he was brought in at the last minute to do
Okay.
that scene as Peter's lawyer. I guess they were doing reshoots at some point, or they were adding extra scenes or new scenes to it to see
Yep.
what would work and what wouldn't. And I think I heard something about how he was, I think he was at San Diego Comic Con, not, or maybe I think it was last year, yeah, because I think they were still filming
Oh.
before, yeah, a few months before it released. So, yeah, I think I heard somebody I follow on YouTube mentioned that he was there at yeah at San Diego, and he didn't say exactly what he was doing. Or oh no, wait, this is why. So he wasn't there. I think that's what it was. He was scheduled to be there as a guest, but he wasn't
Oh.
able to make it because he
Uh
had
huh.
a project going on that he was working on. He didn't say what, but I think that's what it was actually supposed to be. So he didn't want to give
Okay.
away the fact that he was in it. So, and that was honestly like, even though I haven't seen any of the Daredevil series myself, I've heard amazing things about it.
Uh
But
huh.
I was just that was another character I was really happy to see, and I just that put a smile on my face when I saw him in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well,
I'm
who
trying
who is your favorite character to return? Like,
to
what?
return.
Yeah,
Uh,
a villain or superhero? Like,
I
which one was your like? Oh shoot, he's here! Like,
yep yep. I think I mean, the one that I was like by the end of it, I was the most impressed with was definitely Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin.
uh huh.
Just because, like, I know a lot of people have said it, but he was still in top form. He was at the top of his game in this movie. I mean, he's in his 60s right now, and he
Yeah.
did all of his own stunts in this one. Like, he's still killing it. I don't know if anybody else really surprised me, but um, I don't know. I think, like I said, the chemistry I think between like I know how you said how you felt about how Toby was in this one, but I
Yep.
think with just the three of them, they really felt like friends or even brothers, like they
Yeah.
kind of said. So I think just watching them like go back and forth between like all the things they've done or experienced as like in their respective universes, that really made me happy just to see all that come together. Um, I don't know if anything else like really like blew me away, but I think one other thing I did really like was seeing Doc Ock and Toby see each other again, like as
Yeah.
friends. How they ended things between each other in this one, like they were still on a good note. Yeah, on a positive one. Yeah, that was a nice touch. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I personally was like, when Otto was back, I was like, it's Otto, like it's Octavius. Like, I was like, that's so cool. But
yep,
and the Green Goblin, but going back to the poor dialogue, I feel like he didn't have as as good dialogue as he did in the Amazing Spider-Man. Which one was it where he was the main villain in Spider-Man? Was it the first one or was that
it was.
Doc?
Yep, the
Yeah,
first one.
Otto was the second
Oh,
one.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's right.
so I want to go into a point where I read online. In the second one, the 2004 Spider-Man, uh, is a goof that they made in this new one. He was supposed to be immune to heat and magnetism,
Okay,
and he does not have an immunity to electricity. So
okay,
when he grabbed uh Electro,
yeah.
um, he technically should have faulted out and
Oh yeah,
not been able to. So that's like a goof that they made.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, uh, I bet there's a lot more goofs or a lot more trivia that I haven't seen. But I also need to
yeah,
see the other Spider-Mans to fully understand them all. But um, shoot, I don't know. I mean, I think it was a fun movie to watch.
yeah.
It was the effects were really crazy cool. Like the Doctor Strange Spider-Man fight scene was pretty
Hmm.
cool.
Oh
But
yeah,
what took me out again was the poor dialogue and there was a lot of plot holes.
yeah.
Um,
There were.
like what plot holes did you notice?
So, I mean, easily the biggest one that comes to mind is when, yeah, they're first casting the spell or trying to get it right, and Peter keeps making the last minute additions to it.
Uh,
So, I mean, if you remember from that how it should have ended video, I
uh-huh.
think they point out how, because I think plenty of other people have said this too, but how he could have easily just asked him to erase everyone's memory of Mysterio himself. That easily could have like pretty much solved all of his problems. I think, like with everything that was going on.
Yeah.
But um, I don't know if I can think of any others. I mean, just the fact that it like I think any movie, especially one involving magic, will easily have some pretty obvious ones, or at
Yeah.
least I feel like I should have picked up on some a lot easier. But um,
The one that stuck out to me
yeah,
that was also portrayed in the how it should have ended um YouTube series was the one where Doctor Strange he was like, and again this goes back to poor dialogue. Like
yeah,
when he comes up with the magic box that can transport everyone back to their homes, like
oh yeah,
should have just clicked the button instead of explaining what it was so that way
mm,
Spider-Man wouldn't shoot it out of his hand.
yeah,
Um like it would have ended the movie right there. Of course they needed to like have some reason for the movie to keep going, but like that's an obvious like why didn't he just click the button for everyone to go back to their universes and instead
mm-hmm,
he just kept talking about it in Spider-Man. In this one uh uh he's growing up with his aunt May who works at like a homeless shelter or
she, I think she volunteers there. I don't know if that's
volunteers and
her
stuff.
full
Yeah.
time job, but yeah, something like that.
So like he grows up, you know, having to help everyone and all that. So like that gives
Hmm.
him a purpose to help these guys go back to the universes. But um,
Hmm.
it Like that could have easily been the end of the movie. Like, oh, I made this magic box that'll fix everyone's problems. Beep. Like, um, but yeah, there was a couple plot holes in this movie. Um, but overall,
um,
go ahead.
oh, okay. I was because yeah, one I was just thinking about actually was um, I think with Sandman being in this
Uh huh.
one, and for whatever reason, I guess I didn't understand like why he would have still had any evil or malicious intentions
Yeah.
towards anybody. Because like I know you've seen the third Spider-Man,
Yep.
obviously. So yeah, I mean, they had a great character arc with him in that one. I thought they did
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
job with his character.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just didn't get like why they made him into a villain again. Like obviously he is a cool villain to see visually
Yeah.
and what he can do and how he fit into the story, but
Yeah.
just the fact that his motive just was not that clear at all. I think that was definitely a really weak point in the writing again. And then I think something I had pointed out to me was how so Peter's intention, yeah, Tom Holland, his intention was to redeem or bring them back to the good side,
Yeah.
so to say, before sending them back. But each of them were brought back were brought into his universe sometime before they either died or um, they were defeated in some sense or another.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like with Goblin, Doc, and I don't know if Electro did in Amazing Spider-Man 2 because again I haven't seen that one, but um, and then I can't remember if any of the others did. Oh, Lizard, yeah, I know he
Yeah.
definitely does. And then um, I think that's about it. But yeah, I didn't understand like um, if he was trying to redeem them and still send them back anyway, he would just be sending them back to die, and it wouldn't have made any difference. So I think I could be getting my I could be wrong about that. I could have missed some things, or I could be missing
No,
some info.
I'm on
But
the same page where I was like,
yeah,
okay, so he turned them back to regular human beings.
yeah,
When he sends them back, aren't they still going to die? Like
yeah,
that,
yeah. Were you thinking that
that's
like what the first time you saw
yeah.
it? Okay.
That was one thing that really like bothered me after the movie ended. I was like, the whole purpose of the movie was to save them,
Yeah.
but they don't explain how turning them back to a normal, decent human being will save them from dying. Like
Yeah.
they don't explain that, and that's
Hmm.
where I think that they should have had um they should have cut their budget on the effects just a little bit. Like
Yeah.
the effects are crazy good, but the story lacked in a sense.
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel I didn't feel much closure after watching that movie.
Okay.
And to me, that movie was so big that I felt like it had to have a close. Not to say Spider-Man would never have another movie, but to
Right.
say
Right.
that all of the movies up to this point have a
Hmm.
close.
Right.
And I felt like that was missing. But
Okay.
um but yeah, I mean, like if you haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, if you haven't seen the other Spider-Mans, go see them.
Hmm.
Superheroes are pretty cool. Um but just keep your mind open to the faults and the mistakes that they make in these movies because they may tear your heart out when you fall in love with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. If you guys haven't already, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Leave us a like and comment of what you want to see next. And I want to say thank you, Luke, for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Peter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Alrighty, guys. Signing off.
See you guys.